Hello everybody, let's go in to see this Might and Power deck. Welcome to Tpull's Corner, this is Travis and we are doing the early access event for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which is the latest expansion from Wizards of the Coast. And I am playing against type because I don't normally do mono red. I didn't want to do a red aggro. I figure if there's a red aggro option, that'll be discovered quick enough. But I was intrigued by O'Hare Axonel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Deepest Might, legendary 4/4 with trample. If a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Axonel's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to the power instead. When he dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. So it turns into the Temple of Power land, and if we manage to deal 4 more non-combat damage to, let's see, it doesn't say if the non-combat damage is dealt to an opponent or to a creature. So it'll be an interesting test for us to figure out because it's very specifically on the left-hand side, it's non-combat damage power to an opponent. But you look over on the instructions for Temple of Power, and if you have red sources that you controlled dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, as a sorcerer you can transform it back into the legendary creature. So hopefully you followed all that. There's a lot of transformational cards, right? There's a lot of double face cards. There's a lot of transforming from one to the other and back again. So I think this is going to be a slightly more complicated expansion than most others. To help us out with all this, I've got 3 copies of Sunfire Torch, Artifact. Equipped creature gets +1. Whenever it attacks, you can sacrifice it and deal 2 damage to any target. Tectonic Hazard deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. So again, if we have Axonel out, it should deal 4 damage to the opponent and 1 damage to each creature. Triumphant Chomp, 4 copies of that, deals damage to target creature equal to 2 or the greatest power among dinosaurs you control, whichever is greater. I don't have any dinosaurs, so I'm only going to use this 1 mana for 2 to take out the early small creatures. We also have 4 copies of Abrade, and I've already seen some grumbling online about this card being included because there's a lot of creatures in here that are toughness 3 or less. So it's going to be pretty easy for red to sort of tamp down and keep control of things, right? Plus, this is a kind of a heavy artifact deck, or an artifact expansion. So I think you're going to see a lot of Abrades. I think that's going to be a big answer for a lot of the stuff in this expansion. Sunshot Militia. You tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. It deals 1 damage to each opponent. We're looking to do a force multiplier, have Axonel out, so that does 4 damage to the opponent instead. You can only activate it as a sorcery, but the idea that you could get 2 artifacts and creatures, it should be fine. Here's the deal. I think Sunshot Militia can be one of these 2 creatures, right? So that should be fun. Another thing that's interesting is you can tap these if Sunshot Melissa has Summoning Sickness. Does that mean we can't tap it? Or can we use its own ability to tap it the turn we bring it in? It doesn't have haste, so I want to test that out and see how it works. We've got Treasure Map, 3 copies of this artifact. For 1 mana you can tap it and scry for 1, and you get a landmark counter on it. By the time you get 3 counters on it, you remove those counters, transform it to the treasure cove you see to the right, and create 3 treasure tokens. If you're new, this is actually a reprint card. They've done a lot of these artifact turning into lands before. So we're revisiting some of this stuff, and if you've been involved with Magic for a number of years, if you've seen past expansions like the original Ixalan, some of these are going to be familiar to you. We have 1 copy of Brass's Tunnel Grinder. It's a legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, I can discard any number of cards, then draw that many +1. If you descended this turn, you put a board counter on it, and then once you get 3 board counters on it, you remove those counters and transform it. So just like the artifact here, Treasure Map, we're going to remove those landmark counters, transform it into a land. Here, same thing with the legendary artifact, we transformed it into a land. And the legendary land in this case is a cave. To cut in the Searing Rift. And there's a number of caves in this deck, and there are actually some other cards in the set that reference caves. So this is a Caves Matter set. You can actually have increased damage depending on how many caves you have, and sometimes it counts on if they're in the graveyard too. So it could be something to watch out for, right? When you get caves in your hand, on the battlefield, in the graveyard, uh, a lot of it, a lot of these cards care about where the caves are, and you can use them. Anyway, whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by the Searing Rift, discover X, where X is that spell's mana value. So I wanted to include this card because, first of all, it's been kind of a disaster over the last 2 days, and I'm getting a very late start. I had to download the client, had some troubleshooting problems, that kind of thing, but also real life kind of took over most of my last 48 hours. So we have these mechanics. This is 2-in-1, so depending on how many decks I'll get to, usually I get to do like 4 or 5, but it's late in the day already. So here we want to cover 2-in-1. Descend. You descend each time a permanent card is put in your graveyard from anywhere. We are used to things going into our graveyard from, dying, from us discarding it, from milling from our library to our graveyard. There's all sorts of ways that you can get a permanent card, which includes lands, into your graveyard. So it says from anywhere. In this case, we do this all the time as it is. This is just giving a name to what happens because in this case it's going to matter. And so that's for the first part. The legendary artifact, when it's still just the tunnel grinder, then you can, let's see, when you go over to the right, that's when the discover is going to matter. So whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by the Searing Rift, you discover X. So if I cast a 4 mana spell and I cast it by tapping this legendary cave, then I can discover for 4. And what happens is you exile cards from the top of your library until you get to a non-land card with mana value 4 or less. If you want to cast it right then, you can cast it for free. Or if it's not an opportune time to play that card, you can just put it into your hand. So nice little effect right there. Some of this will become clear as we go into the battle and actually use it. Scytheclaw Raptor. I lied about not having dinosaurs, right? I do have one. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, Scytheclaw Raptor deals 4 damage to them. This is my dinosaur. So that can work with Triumphant Chomp, possibly. I lied again. I put Trumpeting Carnosaur in here too. I forgot. When it enters the battlefield, you discover 5. So you're going to exile cards from the top of your value to get to a card that equals 5 or less. Again, you can cast it for free, or if you don't like the idea of casting it right then, just put it into your hand. For 3 mana, also, you can discard it, and it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. And finally, my 61st card, Hit the Mother Lode, where you can discover for 10. If you discover cards' mana value is less than 10, you actually create a number of treasure tokens equal to the difference. So that will help with casting a bunch of other stuff, or it'll work with our 3 treasure maps where we can sacrifice treasures and draw cards. For the lands, 16 basic mountains. We've got 4 volatile faults, which are kind of like the rune lands, where you can sacrifice them. You destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls, but in most of the other cards where you destroy a land, you get to go look for a basic land yourself. Instead, it gives you a treasure token. So that's what you get. Keep in mind, you're not going to get a land that gives you mana. You're going to get a treasure token from that if you use it. And 4 copies of Hidden Volcano. Enters tapped, you can tap it for red mana, or for 5 you can tap it and sacrifice it and discover 4. But you can only activate that as a sorcery. So a lot of things in here that you're only allowed to activate as a sorcery. But that's the idea. We're going to go in. I'm not going to practice anything. I'm just going to go find an opponent. And we're going to try this out. I've moved from my Blue Snowball microphone to a headset because I got some feedback that there was too much noise from the computer fan. So hopefully I'm coming in nice and clear. And if I hit my microphone, is that going to cause too much noise? When I take a drink of water, I got to remember not to crush ice because you might be able to hear me crunching ice. We're going up against Twitch players and YouTube content creators. We're on the special VIP client that Wizards has made available to us for this early access event. And I did not include any other cards except the cards that are supposed to be in this expansion just to specifically show them off. But we can't make any guarantees about what anybody else, because we're in constructed, we're not in draft, we're not in limited, so there are no limits as to what cards from other expansions people can use. So I kind of tie my arms behind my back on purpose just because I want to make sure that y'all get to see as many of these kind of nice cards and sort of just get ourselves familiar with them. I've got Axonil already, so ideally I want to get some stuff out but not really go to town with it until Axonil's on the field. And Ixalan, Lost Caverns of Ixalan has some vampires in it, so it looks like we might be going against Vampire Tribal. And that's going to be a sorcery, right? So let's just go ahead and get rid of these now. Triumphant Jump. And I'll actually have to rely on you all for the comments on feedback on how everything sounds to you, right? Because I'm used to the snowball. I haven't gone to a headset in quite a while, so everything's very loud and clear and in my ears right now. If I do the Volatile Fault, no, they have another one. Let's do the Raptor. If they want to get rid of the Raptor, it's going to have to be on their turn, and that's going to cause damage. And then we can just bring down Axonil and then try everything else that we want to try. You can see we're using the Ixalan avatars already. I may have to go activate a pet soon. And we're not nearly so concerned about roping here because there's a lot of new cards and people are just getting used to them. And so if you want, you can read the flavor text while we're waiting. Okay, here's an excellent card. Preacher of the Schism, a 2/4 with Death Touch. When he attacks the player most life or tied for most life, they get a vampire creature token. If they have the most life, they draw a card and they lose a life. So we got 2 copies of this. That is awesome. We are going to take that puppy. We're not going to attack. So they've got the least life, so that'll give them a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. But it has to attack. And now they got a bat. Alright, here's where we start to have fun. Sunshot Militia. Can I activate this? I'm going to tap you and I'm going to tap you. No, not you. You. These two are going to be tapped. We can tap it the turn it comes in, and we just did 4 damage. Oh. Oh ho ho. Here goes 3 other creatures. And 4 more damage to their face. That's 8 points in 1 turn. We still haven't actually attacked them yet. That was lovely. Now they're not attacking with the Preacher, so it's not going to give them anything. Right? And if they cast a spell, it's their turn, so they won't get a penalty from the Raptor now. They got pain lands going on? Yeah, that's a pain land. Okay, now the Preacher's a 3/5. That can block some stuff, so maybe I don't attack like I was planning to. Another Pain. Another Vampire, 4/6. Treasure Map can come through just fine. Let's go ahead and scry one. A Trumpeting Carnosaur. I like a Trumpeting Carnosaur. I will take a Trumpeting Carnosaur. In the meantime, they can create blood tokens. How about we go ahead and destroy one of those, just for grins and giggles? That'll give us a token. Treasure token. And now we tap two, which we're going to tap the Raptor and the Militia for damage. And tap the artifact, tap the creature. That's game. Which is good, because they had like 11 points of damage they were heading at us the next turn at least. I like the concept. Just because it's a little tricky, this is kind of reminiscent of the red and sometimes red and blue decks, where you're going in and you can tap the creature for, give them a point of damage if they cast an instant or a sorcery. But in this case, we could combine some of those cards with our legendary creature here. Can you imagine tapping to deal 1 point of damage with those instant sorcery guys? You cast a 1 mana instant, untap them, and then you tap them again. You could do 8, 12, 16 points of damage really quick. And this is Legend VIP. And everybody's playing red. What's up with that? We scry. We don't mind taking land, because we have a Carnosaur right there. Come on, we'll attack. Well, First Blood is ours. Now the Iron Crag is from the Eldraine. Oh, heavy artifacts. We got to be careful there. Let's see. We will scry again. A Volatile Fault. I think that's fine. They're doing the draw discard thing. They just got rid of land. All will be one. Uh-oh. Counters coming our way. Okay, so this is the third time we're scrying. I don't think we need more land at this point. That's a lot of land. 3, 4, 5, 6. Can we bring this down now? Would that be a good thing to do? I think so. Let's do it. Hiya! Auto pay. We're going to discover 5. Okay, we found Sunshot Militia. Not the biggest thing, but we can go do that. Ooh, Triumphant Chomp's pretty big now. And now, in case they don't have haste, do 1 more damage just by that, since they didn't have haste. They get rid of the duplicate Iron Crag, get a life out of it. But they're all set up, right? So if they have a bunch of counters, they need to be able to put 6 counters on something, right? In order to get rid of the dinosaur. Brotherhood's End instead. Oh, man. Gets rid of everything. I'm just drawing land. Well, that's going to be a problem. I can sacrifice a treasure and draw a card. And it's another land. Okay, I think Arena is already playing by the old rules. I won my first match way too fast, so they're just going to do nothing but give me lands. That's 9 lands. 9 lands and 5 spells. And the volatile faults are not going to do any good against just a bunch of basic mountains. I'm kind of waiting to see an Ixalan card in here somewhere. A third all will be won. That's a lot of top decking.
The only path to victory is fighting side by side.
Okay, this is a pet peeve of mine. This is not a bad configuration. It's not a bad deck, so to speak. Arena dealt him the Brotherhood's End and the battle right when he needed to in order to take care of all of my stuff. And notice it didn't give him any other removal after that. That's a 6 already. And that only deals damage to creatures, so I'm kind of stuck with nothing to do. So, Arena gave him the perfect removal for exactly my offensive line, gave him 3 setups here to kill me, and then made sure that I got nothing but 10 lands. In the meantime, that's Eldraine, that's Phyrexia. Thanks, Legend, for not showing us any Ixalan cards. Alright, let's do another battle, and this time, hopefully I don't draw 10 lands and 5 spells. You would think for an early access event they would tweak the algorithm a little bit to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen all the time. I can't wait for the land starvation to start. But I'm not bitter. Swayze chose the same avatar as me. Swayze he's a well-known YouTuber. He kind of thinks the way I do in terms of the way he puts together his decks, I've noticed. So I don't have a lot of chances to watch other YouTubers, but I watch him when I get a chance. So if you're not familiar with some of these names, go look them up on YouTube and Twitch when you get a chance. You might find another good favorite that you like to go to. And what kind of jank are you doing? Oh, there's the Myco Tyrant already. Alright, let's see. Let's go ahead and put this in because it comes in tapped. We'll go ahead and scry. And already lands. 6 lands and 4 spells. There's another Myco Tyrant already. I think we just get rid of that. Down another treasure map and scry again. Ooh, I like that. I'll keep it. I like it, I'll keep it. Blossoming Tortoise. More milling. There's Souls of the Lost. That's an excellent card. Power equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, and toughness is +1. So I'm expecting him to be able to get some of that stuff out. Let's go ahead and do a braid now. And we will bring down the Raptor. And this is a 6/6 already. A third Myco Tyrant. And a Lurgoyf. Gross. Okay, so we scry. A 1 damage. I guess we go ahead and take that. That'll take care of a bunch of the 1/1s. And do we want to discover this way? Or do we want to do this? Let's try this. Auto pay. Discover 5. And we play that. Alright. We got rid of some stuff. Swayze's doing some pretty good thinking in terms of maximizing what's in the graveyard. To populate the graveyard fast, this set is good at it. He chose the Somnophage, power and toughness equal to all creature cards in the graveyard, and the Lurgoyf, which is also equal to the number of creature cards in the graveyard. And here comes Souls of the Lost, which is the same theme. And that is just too much for us. We're gonna die so fast. And notice he went through his entire deck, just like I went through my entire hand too. And what can I do here? I can discover for 10. That was a big old whiff. Okay, so I got 9 tapped creatures. He's going to hit me for 18 now. Sorry, that's lethal. You got me. So if I'd lasted longer and had more cards in hand, that might have been good. I like the way Swayze thinks. That's a very good tactic, especially for this set coming out for Ixalan. It's a graveyard set. It really pays attention to what's in your graveyard. The number of permanents matter. So the other cards from the other sets that pay attention and give you more bonuses depending on what's in your graveyard is going to be very impressive. Live Dev, let's go. Go ahead and put the torch out now. And the Raptor comes out. Okay, so now we can do 4 damage with the sorcery. Right on time. And here, this is a cave. Sunken Citadel, you choose the color. You can add 2 and use it to activate abilities of land sources. We're going to use the Chomp on the Stomper. Chomp Stomp is the maneuver that I call that. And I probably should have equipped the Sunfire Torch, but let me go do it now. It's moving too fast. Okay, now it's 5, and our Chomp is going to be 5. Are you going to kill my Raptor? Discard a card or pay 3 life. They discarded a card. It was just another land, so they got plenty of lands. And I got land, so I am out of ammo. Using Hidden Volcano already. What are they going to find? Okay, so they put Bitter Triumph in their hand. Well, I hate the idea of just sitting here doing nothing, so... Now, when it dies, it gets transformed into the land. And they'll just sacrifice the tyrant, right? Or no, they discard and they have yet another land. Okay. 4 or more non-combat damage this turn. So let's try it. 2 to you. Two to you. That's non-combat damage. Can we transform? So it doesn't... Oh, I didn't have enough. Shoot. Did that wrong. Okay, so it didn't have enough land. I wanted to test and see if it had... Oh, good. Axonal's coming up. I needed just one more land. Sure, I'll take another treasure map. I don't mind treasure maps. Ah, there's a Cave Matters. Deals X damage, where X is the number of caves you control. This player is heavy on the caves. Let's see, well there's 3. Oh, plus the caves in your graveyard. So he's been discarding. Discarding a lot. We scry. We could discover with that, so I guess I take it? That's an enchantment, not an artifact, so I can't do anything against that. Let's just kill that. We don't need to have something that creates stuff all over the place. There's my Hidden Volcano, and we get to start scrying again with our next treasure map. Let's try and get something else. We need to get something going against them. Soul of Windgrace. So this gets all the caves back out from the graveyard. Not a bad idea. We're waiting. There we go. Let me draw a card. Aha! Perfect. Another treasure map, okay. And sacrifice the treasure, draw a card, and get our third treasure map. And I think we're done. Okay, now, whenever we attack, we can sacrifice this and do 2 damage to any target. So we could take that from 2 damage to 4 damage against the opponent. They've got a number of things they can do here. All they need is the right land card. Calamitous Cave-In again. Not bad. So we got some lands. They have been getting exactly this Calamitous Cave-In they need. Right when they need it. And you can see why I don't pass up the treasure maps. They're a way to sort of manage my card draw. And is there any reason to go ahead and get rid of one of these things now? Yes. That kind of messes up the raptor that was coming up next, but... Oh, no, it doesn't. Because it's not finding lands for me, it's just giving me treasure, so that's okay to do. I'm so used to destroying one of my own lands, sacrificing it, and having it shuffle my deck. Nope, come on through. So every time it attacks, it's going to get stuff from the graveyard, so... Ouch. Use the Chomp now on Windgrace. Get rid of that. And then we can sacrifice another treasure, draw another card. And it's just another land. Okay. Did that wrong. I was thinking of getting 2 points on that and getting rid of one of those, but you have to make the choice to sacrifice that ahead of time, so that was a misplay on my part. In the meantime, I can't transfer any of these back until I get non-combat power. They're not doing any luck on getting caves to get 4 life back there. Oh, nice. Okay, so this is a neat trick. They used Rebuild the City so that they can go discover with each one of them. That's fun. I like that. Yet another hidden volcano. And these have menace, so they can swing in and hit me, and I can't even block. Return a cave, so they can just start doing more discover stuff again. They've gone through more than half their deck. And land. Okay. And land. We're not having good luck there. Sure. Aha! Finally. A braid, yes. They're tapped out enough they can't sacrifice that and do anything with it. And then I can go in and attack with that, finally. In the meantime, Hidden Necropolis. They seem to have tons of ways to get these lands back from the graveyard, but we'll get another treasure, which means we can dig through our decks some more to get more stuff with our treasure maps. Uh-oh. Maybe I should have kept one of those. They got a Restless Cottage now. And the Myco Tyrant. And another Calamitous Cave-In? Oh, man. That's the third one. And I'm in trouble. Okay, so. Sacrifice the treasure. Draw a card. And it's a land. Of course. Can't do anything with those yet. Sacrifice the treasure. Draw a card. Oh, we finally have something. Sweet. And sacrifice a treasure. Draw a card. We're almost out of card draw. Tectonic Hazard, not the greatest. We've gone through about as much of our deck as they have. Does this have Menace? I forgot. No, just 4 and 4. Gets to exile a card from a graveyard and create a food token, however. How many lands do they have in their graveyard? Splendid Reclamation, return all lands, so that's another trick that they might be going up against us soon. We've gone through about the same amount of land, both of us. Oh no, what are we getting? Bitter Triumph, Rebuild the City, and Cosmium Influence. Okay, Confluence. That's some good value. Okay, so they're paying the 3 life to get rid of that. That's all they're going to do this turn. Seriously, Arena. Seriously, Arena. Okay, I'm done. That's 17 of my lands, and I already used 2 of these, so that's 19 out of the 24. I've only got 5 more lands in the entire deck, but it's too late now.
And perhaps we can avoid
The flooding is real.
Heed the trees. They prepare for war.
Arena, no. No. How could you? We can get rid of one of those. We can do this. And that's all we can do. Sorry, I have hidden volcanoes. I could have done that as sorceries. I could have tried anyway.
Potential.
And we had 2 other lands that we had already used too. They show you what's at the bottom. So out of these remaining cards, there were only 2 other lands that were unaccounted for. And that's game. Yeah, I could have sacrificed the hidden volcanoes to try and look for something, but it would have had to be 4 or less mana, and the 4 or less would not have stopped the 14/14s. All right, I think that's a good enough demonstration of this deck. The first match did very well and showed the concept, which I'm glad that that worked. So you can see if we can get out the right order of cards, it works beautifully. However, we had problems. Most of our problems were actually just flooding land. And so I've got 2.6 mana average. That's not too far off from the average. Just the standard number of lands, 24, but you saw how much we drew through our deck. We drew a lot of cards, and just we hit way too many lands out of all of that. So all I can think of is to change this up a little. Maybe we've got a little too many of these cards, like a Braden Triumphant Chomp. Maybe we need something that gives us even more card draw. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what you think we should do with that. But yeah, I'm still actually, I like the concept, and I like the idea of some of the other cards and the other expansions that would benefit really nicely from this and maybe make us be able to go move even faster with it. So kind of fun. It's depressing to me how in all the other matches our opponents got exactly the one removal card or two removal cards that they needed to take out everything we had, and then they just had tons of oodles and oodles of time to build up everything else that they needed. But we did pretty good in terms of having a nice little 6-drop that came in every now and then to give us a little threat. So I like it overall. Anyway, that's the first deck, Might and Power. I'll go ahead and publish the deck list, and I also like that we got to see some of these other ideas that pummeled us completely, but they were all good ideas and good concepts to give y'all some ideas, some other synergies that this set is introducing, and some other nice combos that we can pull off with a lot of extra specialty lands. All right, let me go see if I have time enough to create another deck, and we'll do something else next. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.